Hello, hello, and welcome back. We're looking at light and dark today. Yes, darkness and light. And we're looking at this in the context of perception and knowledge. And in chapter 3, section 4 of the text of A Course in Miracles, which is entitled Error and the Ego. Perception, as we've looked at, and if you're just tuning in, perception is the realm of duality. It involves a subject and an object, a perceiver and a perceived. Anytime you have a situation like that, you have what appear to be two distinct entities, don't you? Two distinct people, or a person and a circumstance, a person and an opposition political party, a person and an adverse weather condition, a person and a light bill that they're about to open and maybe be very unpleasantly surprised, depending. There's a subject and an object. There's us versus them. From this, we introduce all of our different gradations and levels and divisions and subdivisions and classifications and subclassifications and on and on and on. That's the world that we appear to inhabit. And I do say appear to inhabit. We're here on the spiritual path because we've been listening, whether it's only for a split second or whether it's for decades, to your inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, your guide or guides. Your inner teacher is the voice that continues to remind you, to whisper to you, to drop hints, maybe. Sometimes they're not hints at all, but sometimes it's an obvious attempt to get your attention. But it's this voice that has you on the spiritual path to begin with. It's this voice that has you questioning, is there more to it than meets the body's eyes? It's the voice that says there's got to be more to it than this. There's got to be a better way than this. It's that voice. So when we're looking at perception, the subject and an object, this is the realm that we appear to inhabit. But who we are truly has nothing to do with a subject and an object. Absolutely nothing at all. And this is something we simply know. It's referred to in this course as knowledge, which is beyond all perception. So how do we reach this state where we've always been and never left? Well, first of all, we never left, but we must learn to perceive truly. So here in the thought system of A Course in Miracles, we accept atonement for ourselves. We accept the correction of the Holy Spirit for ourselves. All perception is simply a mistake. The ego is a mistake. That's all. It is not a monster. It's not an opponent. This is important because here in the world, with our tool of language and our tools of books and podcasts and YouTube and visualizations and the way the mind works and operates, is we conceive of the ego as this thing that's opposed to our happiness. We can see it that way. Yet we identify with it, thinking it's who we are. Separate, cut off from our brother, disjointed, disunited, and always under attack always. And the ego and fear are exactly the same thing. It's fear itself. Yet we contend to see it here on the path as an opponent. We make an opponent out of it. A classic example of this is the very popular saying, kick fear in the face. I don't know if you've ever seen people with that bumper sticker or a t-shirt. I mean, there are people that sell merchandise, apparel, saying kick fear in the face, and the intent is good, actually. Their intent there is to say, don't give in to fear. However, when we look at it from the standpoint of non-duality, when we look at it from the standpoint of this course and this thought system, why would you make an opponent when there is no opponent? 1 equals 1. You don't have to kick fear in the face. That makes it real. It makes it real to you. So what do you do when you've spent a lifetime making it real to you? First of all, there is a recognition involved in all of this. There's an awareness involved in all of this that, hey, this is what I've been doing. I accept the correction of my inner teacher. I forgive this exterior object because it only appears exterior. There is no exterior. This is something that takes some time and some repetition to wrap our heads around it, to wrap our minds around it, and begin to get some sort of sense of just what Jesus is talking about here. Because there are many, many people that take a look at this course. It's quite common, by the way. So if you're just starting out, it's quite common. There's nothing wrong with you if you look at this and think, huh? What exactly is he trying to say here? It takes the repetition, and it takes, well, periodic videos like this, but most importantly, it takes practice, moment-to-moment application of these ideas, which I always stress you can begin to do before you fully get everything on an intellectual level. Yeah, that has some importance, but there's no substitute for practice. There's no substitute whatsoever for doing the work. All right, perception, subject and object, that actually makes the body possible. And what is the body? But, well, it's an illusion. Feels real, doesn't it? And it feels solid. We're taught that that's who we are. But we are capable with perception of interpreting the body as ourself. We're capable of, in our minds, making this us in an attempt to run away and an attempt to hide from the intense conflict that we've made in believing and deciding to be separate from God, which we cannot be. We're not separate. Never have been, are not currently, and never will be separate from our source. As always, it's worth bringing your mind back to the very famous idea from this course: ideas leave not their source. Ideas leave not their source. Are you an idea? Yeah. Yes, you may capitalize the S on source. The Son of God is the extension of God, the thought of God, if you will. Ideas leave not their source. We are at home in God. However, we must alter and purify, if you want to call it purifying. We must clarify our perception before knowledge dawns on us again. We've never left our source. We're simply clearing blockages, lifting a veil, walking through a fog bank, peeling layers of an onion, whichever image most helps you to think of it. That's what we're doing. We're piece by piece taking down a wall that we put up. Part of this deep inner knowing that we all have is knowledge that we're not a body. I mean, there's a reason why 20 consecutive workbook lessons here in A Course in Miracles repeat the refrain with the rhyme intentionally placed so that we may remember it. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. Mm-hmm. Yes, just yes. Yes, period, mic drop. That's it. That's a very, very true statement. So when we perceive ourselves as a body, we see truth as a threat. We see spirit, our reality, as a threat. Because in perception, in misperception, we're not seeing things as they are. We're seeing them as we've made them, as we would have them be. This does imply that we have a choice to unmake all of this, and we do. That's the choice that we make moment to moment. And we see eternity, we see God as a threat, as an external threat, as an existential threat. So we suffer one form or another of what we call an existential crisis. I don't know if you've ever had an existential crisis, but they are quite common, and how it appears could really, really differ. Now, the outward form of everything differs, but the content is, well, there's one error that needs correction, and that's the perceived separation itself. So spirit, which is light, it's who we are, is perceived as darkness. We've got it backwards, pretty much. We've got it completely and totally backwards. We perceive our own salvation, our own reality, truth, as a threat, as darkness. Yet truth doesn't perceive darkness. Light and dark, it's a very interesting visual analogy here, because think of turning on a light in a dark room. You enter a dark room, it's nighttime, let's say, and there's really no light there. The curtains or the blinds are drawn. It's dark, and you're fumbling around on the wall for the light switch. What happens when you turn it on? The darkness is gone. You flip it on. You flip on the switch. Lightness abolishes the darkness. It cancels it. Not by making an opponent out of it, but simply by being what it is. This is important. Light doesn't cancel darkness by kicking it in the face. It does not knock out its teeth, bloody its nose, and put out an eye. And it doesn't spit on the prostrate body of darkness for good measure, with a couple of insults thrown in there for even better measure. It doesn't do that. Light simply is what it is. Just by being itself, it cancels the darkness. It is as though the darkness were never there. It simply is. Maybe this is a helpful way for you of looking at it. It's quite a helpful visual. Light, simply by being what it is, cancels the darkness. It's gone. You turn on a light in a room, it's no longer dark. And we're told here in paragraph 6 that light cannot attack. Knowledge cannot attack. It does not know attack. God does not attack. He can't attack. He knows of no attack. So God does not judge. God does not throw thunderbolts from Olympus and strike us down at whim because we're bad little boys and girls who supposedly sinned against our neighbor, because we're bad little boys and girls because we decided not to go to a certain building at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning or something like that. God does not judge. Perfect love is incapable of judgment. It's beyond all of that. Doesn't know it at all. This actually guarantees that while we appear to be on a journey that we call spirituality, while we appear to be here, that we actually have a home to go home to. We're told in several places in the text of A Course in Miracles that if, in fact, God were vindictive and punitive and wanted to get us for being miserable little sinners, we wouldn't have a home to go back to, because that would imply that God is right in the thick of subject-object duality and suffering with us, condemning, casting thunderbolts, placing blame, throwing shade on everything and everyone when he feels like it. Is that perfect love? Nah. Can't be. Isn't. So we do have a home and a reality. And along the path, what we begin to discover, which of course seems like a mortal threat to the ego, is that this world is not our home. Remember, the central teaching of A Course in Miracles is there is no world. Yeah, if you're just watching this for the first time, there's no expectation that you'll instantly wrap your mind around that and accept it wholeheartedly. Yeah, that's what time is for. It's not the last time that you'll hear that. Jesus is very clear. This is the central teaching of A Course in Miracles. There is no world. You are not a body. And deep down, we all know that. We do. We know that very, very well. So we're on what appears to be a journey of remembering. So let's all remember who we are really quickly, like today. Yeah. Should we do that? That would be fun. All right. So the subscription button is right over here. Thank you all for joining me. And thank you very much, all of you who have recently tuned in. And for all of your comments, there have been some really wonderful questions and dialogues. And any questions or comments that you may have, I am happy to have you just type them in. And you're welcome to reach me in that way. The live stream, the weekly live stream that I'm going to be starting up will be over on my Patreon page. I'll throw the link in there. It's going to be a longer conversation than these videos, which of course will continue about 5 or 6 days a week, because as always, the more repetition, the more consistency we get with this material, the more we learn it. And that's truly the point, right? It's to learn who we really are and know that we've never left. So it looks like a journey. We use words like journey and walk and spiritual path. But there's no place to go because we've never left. And when that truly starts to hit for you, it's powerful. Yeah, ideas leave not their source. All right, guys, thank you. I will see you soon.